Hello there. What's going on, everyone? Just figured I would do a little Sunday evening live Q&A for everybody and just kind of hang out with you guys and we'll kind of chat about stuff because there's a lot of news that came out this weekend. We've got a lot of footage of the new EA game Jedi Fallen Order, which has had a lot of interesting reviews. Cyberpunk 2077 looks really, really cool. Although I've had my eye on that one for a long time. But we don't have to just talk about video games. Normally it's always board games, but there was actually a lot of video game news with E3 going on, so that's pretty cool. I think Cyberpunk actually looks really, really cool. But I just wanted to come and talk to you guys, take some questions. We're going to talk a little bit. We'll probably talk more about, tabletop than video games, but we can talk about tabletop as well. We can talk about all of that stuff. Let's go ahead and dive into a couple of things. So the first thing I did want to kind of open everything up is to talk about the FFG like slow release date stuff on everything that's been going on because because like the releases have been all over the place. There was Wave 4 for X-Wing had been delayed, but I saw some copy pasted like messages that supposedly from FFG to retailers talking about, hey, they weren't supposed to release it overseas either, and they didn't get the delay memo, so they released it on the original release date, and now it's supposed to be like July 11th for Wave 4, which is weird. But I suppose that's better than the alternative, which was starting to look like we just weren't getting anything anymore because we were getting a lot of delays for other stuff like Star Wars Legion was also getting a lot of delays. And let's see. Legion also with Sabine and Bosk are supposed to be out by the end of the month. It doesn't look like they're going to be out yet, and we still don't have the downed ATST yet. And Outer Rim is supposed to be out, I think, by the end of the month as well. But I'm just personally, I think I'm getting a little worried that like the tariff stuff. I'm worried about the unknown, and that's just one of my own personal things. Is I get things that are out of my control. Sometimes I worry about not. I want to have everything in my control. I want to be the master of my own destiny. And when it's things that I really care about, like Star Wars and board games and stuff, and then it's stuff that I have no control over, gives me anxiety. So that's one of the things that I'm, it's my own personal demons, but that's one of the things I'm worried about. So that's interesting. But the fact that I guess there's the date for Wave 4 for X-Wing is in July now, as opposed to June, is good. But I still don't know if that's concrete or if that's just kind of a thing that some people are saying. A lot of people will get release dates mixed up. There was also some, like Amazon is now saying like the Superstar Destroyer will be like September 30th or something like that. And some people thought that was true, and I don't think that there's that. It was just because the dates don't line up there. I think they're just going with it being Q3. September 30th is a Monday, so it would have to be like September 26th if it was going to be the last day of Q3. And I do expect they'll have it at Gen Con. So there's a lot of interesting things going on. But I am going to get to some of your questions here, and we'll go talk about those. Also, curious if any of you guys saw. I'm sitting back. I get comfortable in these live Q&As, so I kind of just sit back and did a little photo shoot for Think Geek today too, because if you see them on social media, you might see me in one of their little advertising pictures for Father's Day coming up too, so that'll be fun. Let's see. When do you think Clone Wars Armada will be announced? I think it will be announced at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago 2019, which was in April when they announced Clone Wars Armada. If you are asking, so basically the answer to that question is they already announced it. It's already been announced. But if you mean like when are we going to see like box art and like see what's in like that first preview article, I don't think that will be until later on this year. They might have something to show us at Gen Con, but if so, I expect it will be something kind of small, like very teasery, like maybe some concept art, or they might be able to tell us, what the box art looks like, or maybe a single piece of artwork. Maybe. But it's still early because they're not looking for until 2020 for a release for that. So that is something we'll probably see at Gen Con 2020, Clone Wars Armada. Um, like maybe a pre-release at Gen Con 2020. But I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of Clone Wars Armada at this year because there's other stuff that they're going to need to talk about. What I think for Armada, what I think the next big announcement is going to be, the next big formal announcement is going to be those next two ships that are coming. I think that's what we'll actually get revealed at Gen Con. And I expect that will be a big deal. For out of all the ships that people are expecting them to be, whatever they might be, I think they're going to be pretty exciting. So if they're large, if they're sizable ships, if they're big ships, that like narrowing down the possibilities of what they could be, every option is something exciting. So because I was only expecting smaller ships. So if it's a dreadnought, if it's like a new Mon Calamari, if it's like a huge ship, if it's a Lucre Hulk for the Rebels, if it's the one from the books, oh gosh, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on it right now. But my point is, whatever it is, it's going to be whatever they are, whatever either of them are, they're going to be amazing. I'm sure of it. Plans on any more Black Series reviews? Yes, I am, but I'll be honest. Like the Black Series reviews that I have done have gotten really really low like views. Like if I am taking views as feedback, it seems to me people don't want to see Black Series reviews or action figure reviews very much for me. I don't know if that means I do a lousy job, or if my target audience is not really coming to me for that. But the next wave of Black Series, like the Ezra and all of that stuff, Dr. Aphra and stuff, I pre-ordered all of those through Hasbro Pulse, and I'm hoping that they actually show up soon, because if they show up, like if I get them early, like you're supposed to when you pre-order stuff, then I can actually get reviews out pretty quickly. If not, then that's really one of the things that kills, is like if you don't get a review of something like that up soon, and you're stuck waiting around like an extra 2 weeks for it to finally show up for you, then all the other reviewers will have their reviews, like the Fwoosh and Shartimus Prime, and all those people will already have done them, and then you'll fall behind, and then nobody will care. So so if I want to, because I would like to be able to kind of break into the collectible reviewer category as well, because I really enjoy reviewing a lot of the collectibles. Now, in addition to Black Series figures, I also have on pre-order the new Luke Skywalker pilot helmet and the new Infinity Gauntlet, which isn't exactly Star Wars, but it is also one of those Hasbro legendary collectible things. So I'm going to try to review the newer cool stuff, but we'll see. Let's see. Do you pick up games from Kickstarter? And if so, what are you looking forward to? Well, I do track a lot of stuff on Kickstarter, but lately, what am I looking forward to? Right, so there's a couple of things I'm looking forward to from Kickstarter. Like for one, like all the ones that I have, let me tell you what I have backed right now. I'm going to open up my Kickstarter in another window. Like for one, the gaming table that I had, that basically you guys helped me win that giveaway. That one was really cool. That's supposed to be shipping hopefully this month, so I'm hoping to get that. But like as far as stuff that I backed a long time ago, that's coming in. Lords of Hellas, I'm really hoping to get the rest of that one of these days. It's shipping now, so people are getting theirs every day. Also Nemesis, hopefully the rest of that will be coming in soon. Really really fun game. Street Fighter, the miniatures game, is one I'm actually surprisingly excited for. Street Fighter, the miniatures game, was I don't know. It's just a guilty pleasure of mine. I've always loved the Street Fighter series, even though I've never really been that good at that. Well, there was a point in my life when I was good at those games, but I'm not anymore. But I still love the characters in the world, and I think a tabletop version of that where everybody can just pick up a different character, that'll be really fun. Um, Funny thing is, I actually have a another pitch car expansion coming in that came from Kickstarter that I'm looking forward to. That's more for one with the kids. It's a loop de loop where you can, you know, that one should be really fun. And one game that was like one of the biggest Kickstarters of all time that I missed out on was Blood Rage. And just at the time, I didn't have the funds available to back it, so I backed it and then I canceled, and then it turned out to be like one of the greatest games ever. And I've never even played it because of the fallacy in the Kickstarter model, which is if you didn't back it, you'll never get everything. And so I was reluctant to ever play it because I was, in case I really liked it, I wouldn't actually be able to ever get, the full complete set. So when they re-put Blood Rage digital on Kickstarter, they basically put up alternate minis, but basically you could get everything. You would just have different sculpts than what the original people had. And so I did back Blood Rage digital, kind of went with the all-in version for that. So when that does ship, I'll have everything for Blood Rage. And then I can learn to play that one, because I don't even know how to play Blood Rage yet. I've never played Blood Rage because I was deliberately holding out, but I'm going to try. I'll probably play it at Dice Tower Con, and then we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But as far as ones that are going on right now, let's see. There's actually one pretty cool one called Alter Quest that looks really fun. And it looks a lot like Hero Quest, if you've ever played Hero Quest. Looks like it's taken inspiration for that. Icon is got less than 48 hours left, so if you haven't seen my Kickstarter preview for that one, make sure you check that one out. Awaken Realms has another one launching, Ever Realms, pretty soon. There's just a whole lot of Kickstarters that are coming. This was a big month for Kickstarter. There's a lot of Kickstarters out there right now, and I'm starting to get too many games, and I'm going to have to start going through and like figuring out what I want to sell and what I want to keep, because I'm just running out of room. And so I just got Joan of Arc from Mythic, and that one is so much game. It is definitely one of the most stuff for games, especially out of a single Kickstarter. The fact that what I've got right now is only half, it's definitely one of the biggest Kickstarters. I think the only one I've had that I've gotten this much stuff at once for was Massive Darkness, and that one had a lot of stuff. And I've sadly really only played Massive Darkness one time. I really want to play that one again. Let's see. But yeah, so there's definitely a lot of the stuff from Mythic looks really cool. A lot of the stuff from Awaken Realms looks really cool. And by the way, if you have, and I'll talk about this when I finally do get all my Awaken Realms stuff, but Lords of Hellas had some printing errors, and people were really up in arms against Awaken Realms because they didn't think that they were going to fix some of the cards for the Wave 2 Kickstarter stuff as opposed to the Wave 1 were like a centimeter bigger, so that if you shuffled them together, you'd be able to see which ones were the new expansion cards and which ones weren't. And they are going to honor trouble tickets and reprint those for folks as well. So that's cool. And so they're going to basically all the criticisms that people had there, or most of the criticisms that people had, they're going to fix those. And this was their first Kickstarter too, so for Lords of Hellas, or I don't know if it was their first. I think it was their first really big Kickstarter. So that is comforting for me, because I love the games that I've played. My copy of Lords of Hellas and my copy of Nemesis from Awaken Realms were not my actual pledge. I did actually pledge for those games, but I think they sent me. I mean, I will see when my pledge comes if I'm minus a core set or not. But I'm pretty sure when they send out a reviewer copy, that's separate from your actual pledge. So, but my point is, I loved those games. Loved those games. And it made me really excited for all future Awaken Realms stuff. But I was hoping that they would honor, the supporters and do really, really well by them. And it seems like they're going to be doing that. Why did Australia get their Wave 4 already? Well, from what I understand, it's not just Australia. I think it's also in the UK or in Europe. I don't think everybody got the memo about like changing the release date or the street date of X-Wing Wave 4, and it seemed like there was a breakdown in communication, but I'm not 100% sure about that. That's just something that I've heard, and I can't verify that it's actually the truth, although something like that would be really tricky to verify because, you know, they're not going to basically come out and publicly say that they screwed up. So it's kind of rumor at this point. But oh well. I mean, hey, I'm happy for them. I'm not angry at Australia. I'm glad it's good for the community that you can actually go out and, you know, I saw Harry Nick was doing unboxings of everything. So like there's a lot of spoilers out there that you can get. So it's gonna be fun, and definitely go and check those out. It's just I don't think they've updated the points yet. So while you have this stuff, I don't think they can use it yet. I don't know. All right. Just win your first hyperspace dice at a tournament. Awesome. Congratulations. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, thank you. All right. Why does an FFG release the information of point cost for waves a couple days before? That's a great question, and unfortunately I can't answer that. I think it has something to do with the fact that if they released all that information early, it would spoil everything. And sometimes when waves come out, there's still cards that are unspoilt. And if they released all that stuff, it would all be in the app. So then they would have spoiled everything ahead of time. And maybe that kind of takes away from the joy of wanting to pre-order to get your stuff and open it and have surprises. You know, they spoil so much that, and I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad or a good thing. But it's just an interesting aspect is that because they have so many spoilers, usually by the time when you get an FFG product and you open it up, you already know everything that's in there. Even if it's day one, you already know everything. Usually. Sometimes there's one card that maybe you don't know. But for the most part, as soon as you're opening something, even if you pre-ordered it and you got it like day of, there's no surprises in there. Granted, there might be some surprises in like how something actually plays, and etc. But that's, you know, so that is interesting. And I'll tell you, the excitement factor when there are surprises is really huge. When I got Armada's Wave 7, and that was really early, that was before they had spoiled Wave 7. That was a huge thing. Like, as a gamer, like, that was like the best Christmas of all time for me. Like, that was just one of the greatest days ever, just because I had like, I will probably never again have an experience like that where like I have something from my favorite game and I've got two whole expansions, and like 99% of the cards in them are unspoiled, and I get to look at them before everybody else. And, you know, granted, I put them all up on social media and I shared them all out with you guys, but like that was an amazing experience, and it was like one of the best things of all time. As a gamer, not the best things of all time, like, but you know, from a tabletop gaming kind of perspective, that was like hitting the jackpot. So I think that's kind of one of the reasons that they don't spoil everything, because they kind of want to keep some of the mystery in there for the few cards that haven't been spoiled yet. But that's just a guess from me. Let's see. When do you think they will announce the Armada ships for this year? I said that earlier at the beginning of the video, in case you came in late. I think it'll be at Gen Con. I think that Gen Con will be when they spoil the other two ships that are coming. I think if they have any more ships for the existing factions that are coming, they may announce that as well, or at least hint, because I'm supposed to. I will be at the in-flight brief, and one of my questions for them will be. Hey, it's great that you guys are doing Clone Wars for Armada. Thank you for that. Can we still expect continued support for the Rebellion and the Empire? You know, not, you know, I mean, and that's a softball question for them. But it would just be nice to get them on record saying that yes, they will, or to see if they decide to elaborate on that question a little bit and say, yeah, absolutely, but it's going to be a while because we're going to flush out these other factions first. So that might tell us, hey, you know, it'll be probably a year or two before we get any more Empire or Rebel ships, which is kind of like the pace we're at now anyway, so I think we'll be fine with that. Why do I think the waves for Legion was delay? what I think. I think you're asking me why I think Legion was delayed, or it feels like we've had a little delay. I think there might have just been some kind of shipping problem with the ATST, the downed ATST, and if so, if that also comes out this month, then it's just a one thing delay. But it could be the tariffs, but I'm not 100% sure. I think haven't really been spoiling a whole lot of new Legion stuff just because we have so much with the Clone Wars core set coming out. Although Luke Eddy just posted on Twitter like yesterday that did Nick say that? Nick said he was going to leave the B-Wing unboxing for me if it ever shows up here in the United States. That's funny. He's a good guy. Yeah, I didn't actually. I'll be honest with you. Like, I watched part of the videos, but like I didn't go all the way through on Harry Nick's videos, just because I kind of want to be surprised when I get to open mine first. So I'm kind of holding back on some of that stuff. And I really shouldn't. I should be like all over this, and I should like be rebroadcasting and talking about all the other stuff. But I'm just like, no. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna take that selfishness for myself. You guys can. There's already media outlets covering all that other stuff. But yeah, all right. Let's see. When are we going to get the SSD? Any news on a lot of SSD questions? Any news on the SSD? I don't have any news on the SSD other than Amazon is now reporting September 30th, which I don't think is going to be when it comes out because it can't. Because that's like a Monday, and we don't get products out on Monday. I think Amazon is just saying, okay, the fact that they're reporting a date at all means that FFG is probably confirmed third quarter, which probably means that things are probably going good. Again, there's a lot of speculation here. But I can speculate based on what's out there, whereas somebody who worked for FFG could not speculate because they tried not to get into that whole thing. But I think the reasonable speculation right now is that it is currently on track and still on track for third quarter. And there's also a reasonable chance with any third quarter release that we could see it early at Gen Con. Reasonable chance of that. There's a big part of me that still hopes we get it before Gen Con because I really don't want to have to pack that thing in my luggage from Indianapolis back to Orlando. I'm afraid something terrible will happen. What online store would you recommend to buy Star Wars Armada from? That's a really good question. I mean, if you don't have a local store, first off, check your local store first. But I know that's not the question that you asked, but I'm interjecting. Try to support your local stores first because that's probably where you're going to play other people, and it's a good idea to support your local stores. However, if you don't have the option of that, online stores are. Cool Stuff is good. Miniature Market is good. Amazon often has crazy good sales. So any of those are going to be good. But honestly, it really goes down to whoever has the best deal. Sometimes Barnes & Noble has crazy good deals. So sometimes you can get them from there. But I would stick with Miniature Market Cool Stuff most of the time. Amazon, if you're Prime, you're going to get free shipping. But they don't always have the best prices. So it's, it's up to you. But those are some to check. Any news on the Star Wars Legion Clone Wars release date? Same thing with the Super Star Destroyers. It's still supposed to be Q3 from what I know. I am still expecting it to be a Gen Con pre-release. But they have not confirmed anything that will be a confirmed Gen Con pre-release. For all we know, these tariffs could mean that there are no Gen Con pre-releases. Wouldn't that be a surprise? That would be a tremendous surprise. I'm also curious if they're going to have any Gen Con exclusive things. And if so, I'm wondering, because since they had an X-Wing one at Adepticon, and then they had a Legion Vader at Star Wars Celebration, it would be pretty cool if they had an Armada exclusive at Adepticon. I'm sorry, at Gen Con. But I don't think that. Could you imagine if they had an Armada Gen Con exclusive Super Star Destroyer alternate print, and it was the canon, the big black one, the Eclipse. Could you imagine? They wouldn't do that, but I mean, could you imagine? I don't think that's too big for them to do some kind of separate print run, but that would have been something. I think what they'll do, I think it's too early for them to do an Armada custom ship, but I think they might do like I think a Luke would be cool, an alternate Luke for Legion, kind of like how they did the Vader for Celebration. That would be pretty cool. I would like that, as long as they have a lot more of them, like 100 times as much. That would be cool. Yeah, and that would be fun. Like, it'd be cool if it was Jedi Luke, so you could have Jedi Luke versus Vader, or or one of the various other types of Luke, like Hoth Luke would be pretty cool. I would like Hoth Luke. Or, since you're gonna have Tauntauns and stuff like that, maybe Luke on a Tauntaun. No, because then he'd have to have creature trooper rules, but that would be pretty cool. Luke on a Tauntaun would be awesome. All right, let's see. How OP do you think Rey will be if we ever get First Order Resistance in Star Wars Legion? I don't think she'll be OP. I think there's plenty of characters that are really, really strong in Legion, and depending on what her power level ends up being, she'll be appropriate. I feel like that's almost like a trolling question. I don't think Rey is OP. I think the character of Rey, when you watch the movies, you realize she spent her whole life, since like the age of 6, on Jakku, and having to fight and learning melee combat. She was already quite adept in melee combat, so the Force awakening in her just gave her a natural advantage to something she was already skilled at. So I don't think that makes her overpowered. I think they give her a lot of reason for why she's a good fighter. Let's see. Do you think we'll see any new ships in Fallen Order that could worm their way into Armada, X-Wing, etc.? Yes, absolutely. In the poster art that they released on Twitter and on other social media this past week, there's one ship that looks, there's one single new looking ship, and it looks like it's probably going to be the ship that our character travels around in. And it's got like a big fin, and it's got like a little cockpit at the bottom of it. And so it's an all new, but it looks like an upside down cross almost. So there's that ship that I think probably X-Wing scale, maybe. I'm not sure exactly how big it is. But yeah, I could see it being in something like that. And the way the EA games are fitting in seamlessly with Fantasy Flight games, like there's a really cool relationship between EA and Fantasy Flight. Not specifically like a business relationship, but a canon relationship, the way Fantasy Flight is using Inferno Squadron now in their games, and the way the EA used the Imperial Raider as as Iden Versio's ship in Battlefront 2, whereas Fantasy Flight created the Raider. So that relationship is freaking awesome, and I like to see that cross-pollination. So I am very certain that whoever shows up in this game will eventually show up in Fantasy Flight games as well. So that's a cool thing. Am I looking forward to FFG live stream on the 25th for the points change for X-Wing? No, I'm not. Because that's gonna mean all the builds I have, I'm gonna have to redo them all. And so you guys know I started out with X-Wing, but I play less X-Wing than usual now. And one of the things I thought was very, very comforting was thinking like, okay, I can scale back my X-Wing play, and as long as I build a couple of lists that I'm comfortable with, then I can go ahead and just always have those lists ready to go. I can't do that anymore because they change the points every few months, and so that does mean I'm gonna have to sit down and retool everything. So I know that sounds silly, but it might make things better because I really do like the Jedi, the Delta 7s. That's like my favorite ship right now, just because that's the one I'm kind of flying the most when I do play. And if they kind of allow me to bring a little bit more to them, like if they bring those down in cost a little bit, that would kind of work out pretty good. I'd like to be able to put a little more into my list, because the Delta 7s feel like they can be one shot really easily if they just happen to get that one bad roll. But we'll see. I mean, then again, I'm not the biggest X-Wing expert. I used to have a lot more knowledge when it was 1.0. Let's see. Do you think Armada needs a 3-squadron pack of fighters for the Rebel and Empire? A 3-squadron pack. Do you mean like Rebel Fighters 3 and Imperial Fighters 3, kind of like they have Imperial Fighters 1 and 2? I don't think so. I don't think we need that, at least not now. I think the fact that they're giving us new squadrons in the form of the campaign packs is a great way for them to outfit the game with extra squadrons without forcing you to buy extra squadron packs. I think there's also room for another campaign at some point, and for this other campaign to also have new ships and new unique squadrons for the Imperial Squadrons 2 and the Rebel Squadrons 2. So that means another Ghost, another Lambda, etc. I think there's room for those as well before we get to really needing another squadron pack. But when we do get to the point where they decide to add extra squadron packs for Armada, I would hope that it's a mixed pack. I would hope that it's kind of like the Rogues and Villains pack, where you get one pack and it's got, like 2 TIE Brutes from Solo, right? 2, what's a good Rebel ship that they could do right now? U-Wings, right? And you take the those couple of fighters that could really belong, but I don't think you really need 4 more per side or 8 more per side or anything like that. So maybe it's like 2 more per side, 2 more per faction, and you get 2 copies of each and a dual squadron pack. I could see something like that happening maybe next year. Because I've always felt like there was a little bit too much squadrons in Armada, because we always had a lot more squadron variety than we do as far as ship variety, and where only a smaller section of your list can even be squadrons, it didn't feel right to me. So I've always been advocating for more ships as opposed to more squadrons. What is your theory on how to create your own commanders? Will it be in the new campaign for Armada? It's hard to say. They haven't really put out a whole lot about it. I think it's going to be... It'll probably borrow some aspects from the RPG. You'll probably level up. I think they did say that you will gain new abilities and get stronger as the campaign goes on. So I think it'll be something like... I don't know what points cost will be. Like, you may just be a flat 20 points for your commander. And, maybe you start off with, I'm guessing you'll have, tier 1 abilities, tier 2 abilities, tier 3 abilities, and tier 4 abilities. And when you level up, you could probably level up. A way I might do it is to have something like that, have 4 tiers of abilities. You can pick one ability when you level up, and then if you win, 2 more battles, you can level up to level 2. If you win 3 more battles, you can level up to level 3. And if you win 4 more battles, you can level up to level 4. At each of those tiers, you can pick one extra thing that you add onto your commander. And I'd probably put, 10 abilities in each tier. So you have, 10 exponent 4, lots of ability, lots of permutations of of abilities. All right, let's see. There are absolutely no local stores with Armada within 2 hours of where you live. Well, in that case, I suggest you look into renting out a storefront and open up your own shop and start, that is certainly a possibility. Unless, of course, you live in a very rural area without a lot of population. But if you do live if there's a lot of people where you live, if there's not enough game stores, then maybe you could open one. Maybe you might do really well if you'd have no competition. Or maybe the game stores you do have just omit that one game, and if so, then that's a little bit harder to fix. Do you think they'll ever do sequel factions for Legion? Yes, I do, but I don't think it'll be for a long time. I think we got a couple years. I mean, they might hint about doing sequel factions in 2020. I could see that being a thing. I mean, Luke Eddy's tweet was talking about the long-term plans for Star Wars Legion, and I think it's likely to suggest that sequel factions are part of that plan, especially after this year. We'll have Episode 9 done. We'll have the entire sequel trilogy completed, so we will have a good starting point for sequel trilogy factions. We're going to have enough, canon units to begin something like that. But there's also a lot of books that still won't have come out yet, and a whole lot of like TV shows like Star Wars Resistance and all that stuff that won't have come out yet by that point. So, I can see them even wanting to maybe wait a little bit longer to see what else is going to come out, because I hate when like there's like a game and then something else comes out and they're like, oh, well, now we need to add this to the game, and that has to, since it's newer, it has to be more powerful. It's the problem we had in X-Wing 1.0, where you had the X-Wing, which was the first ship, and it ended up being like the worst ship. And then all of the new stuff that they kept adding later on, even the stuff that was old or historically older, like the Arc 170, was like so much more desirable than the X-Wing. I don't like that. I want them to get it right from the beginning, and I think the best way to do that is wait as long as you can, and so you really get a good feel of the relative power level of everything in this trilogy and in this time period, and that's where you start. Let's see. No, I would say it's okay about your Ray question. I didn't mean like to troll me. I wasn't sure if you were referring to like Ray as a Mary Sue or stuff like that, and I don't think those are fair comparisons, especially if you look at like Luke, how he had hardly any training and still was able to blow up the Death Star. So I don't think they're fair comparisons, and I'm not a big fan of knocking the sequel trilogy just because there's so much real toxic stuff going on out there. Like, I know that the sequel trilogy is not perfect, and it's not everything that we ever wanted, but I'm really grateful to have Star Wars being a thing. I'm grateful to have a new Star Wars movie this year. I think it's fantastic, and I actually really liked Episode 8 too. And it's fine if you want to discuss those things and actually talk about them, and nitpicking is fine too. But I do see a lot of people that just want to throw stones and not be constructive either, which is a pet peeve of mine. So I'm a little defensive about that sometimes. Let's see. What do you think of doing a combined what to buy for our armada? Things like rogues and villains are much better when you collect both sides. What to buy first for buying both? That might be a little bit pandering because I already have one for each side. I don't know. I'm not going to be doing as many what to buy firsts for Armada just because the last one I did has still covered everything that's out. And so like we don't get enough product released for Armada for me to really have to update those. So I will do another one probably right before the Clone Wars comes out for Armada, and I may do I might do a combined one. I'm not sure though. It makes more sense to stick to a faction because the whole idea of what to buy first on a budget is, or at least that's what I call them. I call them what to buy first on a budget. Is the fact that they're, if you're on a budget, you're probably sticking to one faction, and that's for any game. A lot of people, not everybody can buy every faction, and so that's one of the big problems. So that's it's something I might do. How excited are you for Legion Worlds in less than 2 weeks? Wow, is it really coming up in less than 2 weeks? That's cool. I'm not as excited because I don't get to go to a lot of the Worlds tournaments. Although next year, if possible, I would like to go to Adepticon to try to go to either Armada or Legion. Probably Armada. I play Legion a lot more casually. I'm not as competitive with Legion, but I play a little bit competitively. Like I try to play my games very efficiently and and try to play them with a competitive mindset, while at the same time having a very fly casual attitude about it. But I'm totally fine with a lot of my games. We have some really competitive folks that play, and we have a lot of beginners that play. So in my local area, there's a lot of very casual mindset. Yeah, we can't all be there in theory. That is a good point. So, but yes, it'll be interesting. There's been a lot of, so much stuff come out for Legion, and it's interesting the things that I can probably say this now. So my take on Legion. I'll give you guys a little scoop because I used to play test for Legion. I don't anymore, and it's not. I'm not going to break any NDAs. There's nothing wrong with saying that you were a playtester, but I stopped playtesting because I wanted to be surprised a little more, and I wanted to be able to do like speculation and stuff like that. But it's interesting when you're playtesting and you view things a certain way, and then when it comes out and something becomes like very, very competitive that you didn't think was going to be that competitive, or certain strategies that we never expected end up, like when something gets released, and because Legion has gotten so big, like I was playtesting Legion before the core set even came out, so it was really interesting, kind of like the way I looked at the game then versus the way I look at it now. It's really taken on a life of its own. So that's a very interesting thing. And the reason I say that is because that boils into like the competitive scene. Like when a game is in like development, it's hard to see. It's hard to predict how like a massive group of people are going to receive a game like that and really take it to like that next level. Like Legion has really gotten huge, and I'm thrilled because it was a game I was really excited about, and I still enjoy playing it. It's a little bit of a chore to play sometimes because having to set up a bunch of terrain, it's taken up a lot more space in my garage than any other game because of all the terrain that I keep. So yeah, that is going to be a fun thing. Am I going to do more bat reps? Absolutely. I haven't. Well, I did a couple. I think last week I put up a few. Last week or the week before. But I don't have any games scheduled for like this next week. I've had a lot of things going on, and I haven't been able to play Legion or Armada or X-Wing as much as I would like to. But I definitely do plan to continue to do bat reps, but they're not just. I don't like have a fixed schedule for them. But yeah, absolutely, especially Legion. So one of the cool things is, so I got. I don't know if you guys saw, but yeah, you should definitely check out the Joan of Arc unboxings that I've done, because there's some really, really huge miniatures in there, and there's this dragon, and I talked about playing casual Legion. I'm going to try to incorporate this dragon into one of my Legion matches and either give it use it as a terrain piece that is like maybe even almost an objective, like it attacks anybody that goes near it. Or something where you have to attack it, or maybe even if we have like a third player or something, let somebody control it, or maybe it's alternating control, like one turn somebody gets to control it, the next turn somebody else gets to control it, and that was I don't know, I'm going to work on something like that, but it's so big, even though it's for a 15mm game, it still works for a larger game. It still works for Legion. Yeah, it's pretty much. I think it's about the size of an SSD. All right. How much Legends material do you think we can expect to see from Armada, Legion, and X-Wing? I'm gonna say not much. Not much. Just because they have so much canon stuff that they can still promote and pump into games right now. I mean, let's not even including Clone Wars, which is going to get a lot of Legion stuff and X-Wing stuff and eventually Armada stuff. But like, look at Legion, for example. There's still so much canon stuff the Rebels and the Empire can still use. Almost everything from Rebels, right? We have Sabine coming, but like all the other stuff from Rebels we can get. There's a whole lot of material there. Saw Gerrera, Partisans, like sub-factions, Ewoks, Gungans. Well, I said we're not excluding Clone Wars, right? But there's just so much that they can really put into this game. And then and then Inferno Squad, and then the stuff from all the video games, Inferno Squad, this new Jedi from Jedi Fallen Order, and then all the new troopers that we see from there, the Shock Troopers, the Purge Troopers, the Flame. Well, we have Flamethrowers already with the Snow Troopers, so I guess we've already got that. But man, like there's so much that we can get with these new video games, and that's another cool thing about the video games. So I want to talk about Fallen Order a little bit, because it looks like it'll be a fun game. I'm not gonna lie, it does look like it's, and I think it'll be worth your money, even if if it's got like I don't expect it to be a game that you're going to play through like multiple times. I don't expect it to have like a branching story where you make lots of important decisions and you finish and then you want to play the game again and go through a different way. Because that would be awesome, and I don't think it'll be that awesome. It's EA, so I think it's going to be very vanilla, very normal, whatever appeals to the public the most, the widest audience. They're going to want something simple, just go from point A to point B. I think it's going to be like that. Very, very linear game. Probably short. But even if it's like that, it's still, I think, going to be worth it because you're going to get to experience a lot of... It's going to be like a cinematic, experience, like an interactive movie. And I think it'll be fun. I don't think they'll give you any choices. They might give you like one choice to make. Like in The Force Unleashed, right? You play through the whole thing and then at the very, very end you choose to go left or right, to get a different ending. Not really choice, just have two different endings. So I think with these, the new games and stuff, like I want more games to have branching storylines. That's why I think Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be so cool. That one's going to be very branching. And it's hard. It's really hard to make branching stuff, especially when you have to record dialogue and you have to, write all of these branching arcs. I've done branching videos, and I've got a whole bunch of interactive video. Like if you go to Crabbok.com, there's an interactive videos section, and I've got all of the branching, choose your own adventure kind of videos that I've done. And those aren't easy to do because you've got to write this whole script out, and then and then filming them, you've got to go back. Let me film out this path. And then let me film out every branch off of this path, and let's film out this path, and film out every branch off of this path. And you got to make sure that you have your same starting point. You got to reset the board state for everyone, and try to hope you didn't screw it up that much. And then it has to make sense. And then of course people are going to complain. Well, I didn't like the way that this choice was. And I'm sorry, I had to make it fit into like this. There's 137 freaking options. I had to make everything fit. So branching stuff, I get that it's not easy to do, but I think that's why they should have just made it open world. Like if Fallen Order was an open world game, that would have been amazing. That would have been really good. All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. I do want to remind everybody that if you guys are going to be in Orlando, Dice Tower Con, 4th of July weekend, it's going to be awesome. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's the only convention of the year that I think I'm going to be going through, or going to play. I will be at Gen Con, but I'll be at Gen Con to work, so won't be able to do as much fun stuff at Gen Con. And yes, I will be doing. I'll be probably doing a stream for Fallen Order. I did the same thing for Battlefront 2, for the campaign for Battlefront 2 when it came out. It was all right. It was fun. It was short, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was an enjoyable campaign. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you all for hanging out with me, and y'all have a nice evening. See ya.